Hi, thank you so much for getting involved in the fight for congressional redistricting reform. Together, we can end gerrymandering in Ohio.
So where does the term gerrymandering come from? You're currently looking at the original gerrymander district drawn by former governor of Massachusetts, Elbridge Gerry, in 1812. It's called gerrymandering because it looks like a salamander. Essentially, gerrymandering is the manipulation of political districts to rig the outcome of elections to favor one political party over another. Although historically both sides of the aisle have engaged in gerrymandering, the practice has become so extreme in states like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Texas, and of course Ohio, that the prominent elected officials in both the Democratic and Republican parties have publicly called for an end to gerrymandering. In a state where there is 60% Democratic support and 40% Republican support, the line should be drawn so there is appropriate representation for each party. Now let's look at two classic strategies for gerrymandering: cracking and packing. Let's say the Republicans hold the redistricting pen. With cracking, Democratic communities are purposefully split to dilute their voice and ensure they are in the minority. With packing, the Republicans over-concentrate Democrats in a few districts to ensure wins for the GOP in the remaining districts. Ohio is a real-world product of gerrymandering. Currently, the congressional district lines are drawn by politicians in the state house behind closed doors. They draw the lines based on purely partisan grounds with all the cracking and packing you can imagine. So Ohioans are left with 12 Republican representatives, 4 Democratic representatives, and not a single competitive race in the state.
We know Ohioans are in favor of slaying the gerrymander because in 2015, they voted overwhelmingly for Issue 1, which created a bipartisan process to draw lines for state legislative districts. Unfortunately, the reform did not apply to the drawing of lines of congressional districts. So the League of Women Voters, the Ohio Environmental Council, and many other good government groups across the state joined forces as Fair Districts Ohio and are fighting to put the bipartisan congressional redistricting reform amendment on the ballot this November. This new amendment requires the same process for drawing congressional districts that was approved by voters in 2015 for state legislative districts. Instead of the lines being drawn by politicians behind closed doors, a 7-member bipartisan commission would be responsible for drawing congressional district maps. The commission would include the governor, secretary of state, auditor, 2 legislative appointees from the majority party, and 2 legislative appointees from the minority party. The amendment prohibits gerrymandering by requiring more competitive districts. Most importantly, new maps must have support of members of both political parties. The amendment requires more compact districts with new maps minimizing the splitting of counties, municipalities, and townships. And finally, by requiring public testimony and submissions of new maps, the process would be much more transparent and accountable to the people.
The movement to end gerrymandering in Ohio is all about taking power back from the politicians and giving it to the people. Thousands of Democratic Party volunteers, activists, and supporters have been asking how they can join the fight. As you know, Democrats and progressives across the country are spending June, July, and August organizing, mobilizing, and building grassroots capacity. We're calling it Resistance Summer. And here in Ohio, we're excited to announce that our first act of resistance is going to be to join the massive signature collection effort to put congressional redistricting on the ballot this November. So what will it take to get this on the ballot? Fair Districts Ohio must turn in the number of signatures equal to 10% of the vote cast for governor in the preceding gubernatorial election. Signatures must also be collected from at least 44 of Ohio's 88 counties, and from each of those counties, the number of signatures must equal 5% of the vote cast for governor in that county in the preceding gubernatorial election. And finally, in order to get on the 2017 ballot, signatures must be submitted by Wednesday, July 5th. Because this is a huge endeavor with a relatively short turnaround time, there's a chance this could be on the 2018 ballot instead of the 2017 ballot. The good news is that all the signatures we collect this year will count towards the total for either year.
Now let's talk about how to correctly fill out a petition book. Please note, spouses cannot sign for each other. Doing so is a prosecutable offense. Also, circulators cannot sign for anyone, but they can fill out printed information if someone needs help, and only if they are with that person at the time. Okay, so Valerie Thompson signs her name in the signature box exactly the way she signs it when she goes to vote. She then prints her first name on the top line, and here you can use a common nickname, but since she's registered with her full name, that's how she prints it. She includes her middle initial and prints her last name on the line below her first name. She includes the street address and city where she's registered to vote. The ward precinct box comes before the box for zip code. Valerie leaves the ward precinct box blank, which is what you should encourage all signers to do. She then includes her zip code, her county of residence, and the date she fills out the petition. Now let's go over some of the most common mistakes people make when filling out petition books. First, Valerie signs using her nickname, which is not how she is registered. She also uses red ink. Petition books must be filled out using blue or black ink only. Another common mistake is for people to include their first and last name on the first name line. Even though the information is correct, the signature will be invalidated if the last name isn't in the correct spot. Some people think the initial box is for their first, middle, and last initials, but this is only for someone's middle initial. Here, Valerie puts a P.O. box in the address line. P.O. boxes are not accepted. You must use the residential address where you are registered. Valerie puts question marks because she's unsure of which ward or precinct she lives in. You can avoid this mistake by telling everyone up front to leave this box blank. Because it's hard to read, people often mistake country for county. This is why it's important for circulators to assist people as they are signing their petitions. People will also put their date of birth in the date box, when this actually refers to the date they signed the petition book. It's important to note that these books are county specific. So if you have a Franklin County book, all petition signatures in that book must be from Franklin County. Here, Jefferson from Licking County tries to sign the book. If someone from another county wants to sign, you should start a new book specific to that county. And if someone makes a mistake, they should cross it out. The next signer should start on the next full line like Jasmine did here. Now, let's talk briefly about requirements for petition circulators. To circulate a petition, you must be a U.S. citizen and at least 18 years old. You do not need to be an Ohio citizen or a registered voter. You cannot leave a book somewhere and come back later to pick it up. Circulators must witness each signature they collect. Finally, circulators must fill out the back of the petition books. So here we see that the petition circulator, Jane Doe, prints her name in the first line. Please note, circulators cannot sign their own books. They can, however, sign a book circulated by someone else. The next line that must be filled out by the petition circulator is the number of signatures collected in the book. Let's go back to the sample petition where Jefferson had to cross his name out. Even though it was a mistake, it's important that the petition circulators report the last signature line that's used in the book. In this case, signature line 15 is the last one filled out, so 15 is the number reported. As petition circulators, you must leave these two lines in the middle blank, and don't forget to sign your name and include your address of residence in the space provided. Now let's review the timeline briefly. On Wednesday, May 10th, the Fair Districts Ohio campaign submitted the Second Amendment summary and 1,000 signatures to the Attorney General's office. On Monday, May 22nd, the Attorney General approved the summary and signatures. That same week, we got busy confirming training and petition book staging locations and county circulation leads. On Tuesday, May 30th, the ballot board met to approve the petition language, and the campaign immediately began printing petition books. Saturday, June 3rd, is the launch of Resistance Summer, and we will be encouraging activists across the state to join the massive petition circulation movement from June 3rd to July 4th. Remember, all petitions are due on July 5th.
So what are our next steps? The first is to visit go.ohiodems.org/resistance to find a staging location near you. The first statewide petition book pickup and signature collection effort will kick off at staging locations on June 3rd. From there, we hope you will return completed books and pick up new ones from the staging location nearest you every Friday, or sooner if you get done quicker. The next step is to make good on your commitment. Each and every one of you committed to collect a certain number of signatures. We're counting on you. Fair Districts Ohio is counting on you, and the whole country will be watching to see if Ohio really can pass congressional redistricting reform and slay the gerrymander once and for all. Last but not least, please recruit your friends to join you. Can you recruit and train one other person to collect 100 signatures? Tell them to text FAIR, F-A-I-R, to 90975 to make their pledge.